but I really should have found a way to go.
Yeah.
But I made a mistake.
Yeah.
And I was young and kind of...
For decades, fans believed Al Pacino and his co-stars shared the same mutual respect we all felt watching them dominate the screen. But behind that cinematic magic was a storm brewing. And now, at 85, Pacino admits there were 7 actors he simply couldn't stand. Some were once his idols. Others were close allies who turned into fierce rivals. Each feud hit so deep it left permanent marks on careers and built up whispers that still echo through Hollywood's backrooms today. Let's dive right into it, starting with the one name Pacino never forgave, Marlon Brando. The first betrayal cut the deepest. Marlon Brando! The man Pacino once looked up to ended up being the one who wounded him most. On the set of The Godfather, they stood as father and son icons locked in movie history forever. But off camera, that bond shattered fast. Pacino's admiration froze into resentment as Brando's unpredictable, chaotic energy ruled the set. Pacino once recalled, "Marlon would just do things. You had to react or drown." For a young actor still fighting for respect, it felt less like collaboration and more like sabotage. Then came the ultimate insult, the Oscars. In 1973, Brando was nominated for Best Actor, while Pacino, who carried Michael Corleone's transformation, was shoved into the Supporting Actor category. Pacino refused to attend. According to insiders, he felt humiliated. One publicist even said, "He wasn't mad at the Academy. He was mad at the idea Brando carried the film." That wound never healed. Brando ignored the tension, choosing silence, while Pacino tried years later to make peace in interviews, but they never reunited, never shared another public moment. One director summed it up perfectly. Marlon was chaos. Al was control. They couldn't coexist. What the world saw as a legendary partnership was actually a Cold War that split 2 giants forever. Number 2, Leonardo DiCaprio. Leo grew up idolizing Pacino, watching his films frame by frame, studying every expression, every move. So when they finally teamed up for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in 2019, DiCaprio expected some kind of mentorship, maybe even friendship. But instead, he got ice-cold distance. Pacino never returned the admiration. He saw DiCaprio's annotated scripts, the hired historians, and constant fittings, not as dedication, but as clutter. During one table read, Pacino reportedly leaned back and said, "The research department is down the hall. We're in the acting department here." The room laughed, but for Leo, that laugh stung hard. Their approaches couldn't have been more different. Pacino ran on pure instinct and emotional fire. DiCaprio was methodical, building his characters piece by piece like an architect. Costume designer Arianne Phillips once said, "Leo wanted multiple fittings until he felt the character. Al would just close his eyes, breathe, and say, 'This is it.'" To Pacino, Leo's process killed spontaneity. To Leo, Pacino's dismissal felt like betrayal. He once said, "He was my hero growing up, and now he treats me like I'm wasting time." Pacino later confided in Scorsese that DiCaprio had the head of an academic who needed to set fire to the textbook. But time softens even the hardest riffs. In late 2024, they were spotted having lunch in Los Angeles with DiCaprio's father. Witnesses say Pacino smiled and said, "You turned out all right, kid." Proof that admiration can twist into disappointment or nashta but never disappear completely. Number 3, Tom Cruise. When word got out that Al Pacino and Tom Cruise were teaming up for Michael Mann's Collateral, Hollywood went wild. 2 generations, 2 powerhouse stars, 1 gritty thriller. The hype was unreal. But behind the scenes, things didn't stay so picture perfect. It looked like destiny. 2 icons, 1 screen, unstoppable energy. But just days into rehearsal, that dream turned sour fast. Behind closed doors, the vibe between Al Pacino and Tom Cruise turned cold, sharp, and personal. Cruise arrived fully loaded, armed with his signature binders, research on real contract killers, timelines of his character's childhood, and weeks of gun training. He was precision itself. But Pacino, he hated it. After one exhausting scene breakdown, Pacino finally snapped, saying, "I don't need to know where the guy went to elementary school. I need to know what he's feeling now." That line said it all. Pacino wanted emotion, Cruise wanted facts. During improvisations, Pacino tossed the script aside, chasing something raw and unpredictable. Cruise, unshaken, stuck tight to his rehearsed beats. Furious, Pacino leaned in and whispered, All this homework is wonderful, but at some point you have to set fire to the library and see what happens. Crew members never forgot it. That quote became the motto of their feud. The clash poisoned everything. Michael Mann's vision cracked under the tension. In the end, Jamie Foxx replaced Pacino as the cab driver, earning himself an Oscar nomination, while Pacino walked away, burned by the chaos. Since then, total silence. No collabs, no interviews, no red carpet smiles. Cruise later hinted that he respects different processes, but Pacino? He never thawed. What should have been a legendary matchup became a Hollywood cautionary tale. Sometimes two icons are just too explosive to share the same space. Number 4, Kevin Spacey. When Glengarry Glen Ross hit theaters in 1992, critics couldn't stop raving about the tension between Al Pacino and Kevin Spacey. Their scenes crackled like real-life rivalry. But the truth? That chemistry came from pure friction, not friendship. Pacino got fed up fast with Spacey's obsession over precision. Spacey approached every line like a math problem, dissecting syllables, marking pauses, and plotting inflections like a scientist. For Pacino, who thrived on chaos and instinct, it was torture. One crew member remembered him snapping after a take, shouting, "He's not acting! He's demonstrating acting!" The whole set froze. That single line cut Spacey deep, and from that moment, the room split in two. Pacino poured out raw volcanic emotion, while Spacey countered with clean, calculated delivery. Director James Foley later admitted, Al needed the performance to be lived. Kevin needed it diagrammed. They were total opposites. Pacino chasing fire, Spacey chasing structure. The tension got so thick, even Spacey couldn't resist throwing shade. He once sneered, "Al thinks chaos is depth. Sometimes chaos is just chaos." That line echoed through the production, solidifying their divide. The two never recovered. No reunions, no public praise, no warmth whatsoever. Years later, during a 2019 Q&A, Pacino dropped a cryptic bomb. Some actors never stop rehearsing even when the cameras are rolling. He didn't need to say the name. Everyone knew exactly who he meant. In Pacino's world, the truth doesn't need an introduction, it just burns. Number 5, Dustin Hoffman, Al Pacino, and Dustin Hoffman. Two acting titans who were never friends, no matter how much Hollywood wished they were. Back in 1974, director Sidney Lumet tried to bring them together for a film called Attica. It should have been history in the making, but what came instead was pure chaos. From day one, Hoffman showed up armed with research binders, character charts, and endless psychological questions. Pacino sat quietly, at first. Then, fed up, he slammed the table and barked, "We're not performing autopsies!" That outburst shattered any chance of peace. Rehearsals spiraled, egos clashed, and the film collapsed before a single frame was shot. Two geniuses, one obsessed with details, the other addicted to raw emotion, and not enough room for both. "We're trying to breathe life into something," Pacino shouted, slamming the air with frustration. The room froze. Every crew member went silent. Hoffman just glared, eyes sharp as knives, as if Pacino had just insulted everything he believed about acting. The feud exploded from there. During improvisations, Hoffman picked apart every motive, every emotion like a scientist dissecting a frog, while Pacino demanded chaos, heat, and instinct. Finally, Pacino snapped again. "Stop building the violin and play the damn music." It wasn't just a jab. It was Pacino's total rejection of Hoffman's entire approach to acting. Director Sidney Lumet knew then and there the film was doomed. He pulled the plug, later saying, "They were two different religions of acting." Both men went on to rule the decade, each stacking up Oscars, magazine covers, and classic roles, but never again stood on the same set. Critics couldn't resist comparing them. Hoffman's precision versus Pacino's fire. But for Pacino, that comparison was poison. He hated living in Hoffman's shadow. Hoffman, in turn, dismissed Pacino as reckless. What could have been a legendary pairing became yet another Cold War in Hollywood's long list of grudges. Number 6, Jared Leto. Al Pacino didn't even recognize him. On the set of House of Gucci in 2021, Jared Leto strutted up in full prosthetics, balding wig, heavy makeup, wild Italian accent, and greeted him with a dramatic "Papa!" Pacino looked stunned. He thought Leto was just some overexcited extra. When someone whispered that it was Jared Leto, Pacino nearly had a heart attack. From that moment on, tension never left the set. For Pacino, acting meant truth, discipline, being alive in the moment. But Leto's process was a circus. He stayed in character all day, muttering in that thick accent even after the cameras stopped rolling. One afternoon, Pacino finally lost it. Turning to director Ridley Scott in front of everyone, he snapped, "Tell the kid the scene is over. He can come back now." The message hit like a hammer. Enough with the show. What Leto saw as sacred devotion, Pacino saw as fake chaos. Pacino believed acting was about fighting against artificial behavior until something real broke through. He even told Leto once, "You're not chasing truth, you're manufacturing it." That line hit deep. Behind the scenes, Pacino quietly asked for fewer joint press appearances. At premieres, they barely spoke. Leto later called Pacino a generous partner, but insiders knew the truth. Their clash wasn't loud, it was cold. Icy silence replaced shouting matches. They've never worked together again. To Pacino, Jared Leto turned acting into performance art, and that was unforgivable. Number 7, Johnny Depp. The cameras told one story: Al Pacino and Johnny Depp, side by side in Donnie Brasco, 1997, locked in haunting chemistry that defined the movie. But behind the scenes, it was two men at war with their methods. Pacino became Lefty Ruggiero through pure instinct, living every moment like it came straight from his soul. Depp, deep in his chameleon phase, built Donnie from the outside in, perfecting quirks, accents, tiny mannerisms. At first, Pacino tolerated it. Then one night, during a tense Brooklyn restaurant scene, he snapped. He turned to Depp and barked, "Where are you right now?" "Because you're not here with me." The entire set went dead silent. For Pacino, Depp's style felt hollow, like he was acting next to an empty seat. And to Pacino, absence was betrayal. Producer Barry Levinson had to constantly step in, trying to cool things down. Pacino later reflected, "Some actors create characters. Others reveal themselves through characters he didn't drop a name, but everyone knew who he meant." Depp laughed it off years later, joking at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival that Pacino was certifiably insane, even saying, "I wouldn't spend a night anywhere near his house." The crowd laughed, but behind the humor there was still bitterness. The two have never reunited. No joint interviews, no tributes, no nostalgic nods, just silence. On screen, they looked inseparable, but off screen, they proved that sometimes great chemistry is just a really convincing lie. 7 names, 7 rivalries, 7 stories of respect turned to ashes. Each feud wasn't just about ego, it was survival. Pacino fought to protect what he believed acting should be: raw, emotional truth over perfection, chaos over control. So tell me, which of these feuds shocked you the most? Al Pacino's legacy isn't just built on Oscars or iconic lines, it's built on fire. Every feud, every clash, every brutal disagreement tells the story of a man who refused to fake it. Behind the fame was someone who demanded truth, even if it meant burning bridges with the biggest names in Hollywood. He didn't hate easily, but when respect broke, it shattered for good. For Pacino, acting was never just a job, it was survival. The set wasn't a stage, it was a battlefield. Whether it was Brando's chaos, DiCaprio's precision, or Leto's over-the-top devotion, Pacino stood his ground, choosing instinct over method, emotion over calculation. He lived his art like a storm, unpredictable but unforgettable. In every feud, there's a pattern: Pacino versus control. He wanted the truth to bleed through the screen, not be drawn on paper. Maybe that's why he clashed with so many legends. They chased perfection, while he chased something real. Even now, at 85, he doesn't apologize for it. "I just wanted to feel something real," he once said, and that sentence sums it all up. The man who became Michael Corleone, Tony Montana, and Lefty Ruggiero never played it safe, and that's exactly why audiences still can't look away. Hollywood may call it arrogance, some may call it ego, but those who truly understand Pacino know it's truth. Brutal, uncomfortable, uncompromising truth. He's not just one of the last living legends, he's the last of his kind. A man who didn't care about pleasing studios or smoothing over egos. He cared about the craft, and that's why his name still carries weight in every corner of Hollywood. So, whether you see him as a genius or a troublemaker, one thing's certain: Al Pacino changed the way we see acting forever. He showed the world that sometimes the real drama doesn't happen in front of the camera. It happens behind it. Which side of Pacino do you believe in, the perfectionist or the purist? Because either way, one thing's for sure: the legend never played by the rules. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button if you felt something real, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories.